Let's talk about the sympathetic nervous system. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. What are you going to do when you're approached with danger? If the grizzly bear comes at you, are you going to fight? Are you going to run? Are you going to do both? This is describing in which the physical pathways occur. The hard part about the nervous system is sometimes you can't see how this structurally works. So we're describing the pathways and how do you get from one spot to the next for the sympathetic nervous system to work. My name is Brad. I've been teaching anatomy for 24 years now, and I try to simplify this the best I can, especially for the nervous system. As I look at the nervous system, we had previously talked about the hierarchy, that as I break down the two systems, central and peripheral, as I look at the motor function, we have two types, visceral and somatic. Somatic is what I can control. Visceral is what I cannot control. And we said our visceral motor is our autonomic nervous system. That's our sympathetic and our parasympathetic. Our sympathetic is our fight or flight. Our parasympathetic is our rest and repose. We are discussing in this video, how do you get the sympathetic to work? It's the actual neurons and the fibers that connect to the different organs to help them function. Because when we have fight or flight, what is actually happening? Things are speeding up. One, to help me fight off the grizzly bear, right? I start to perspire to cool me down. My heart rate increases. My breathing increases. Everything in my body is increasing, except for some aspects are going to slow down. When I look at some of my digestive and urinary organs, they're going to slow down. It's not in the interest to fight at that time to be able to digest my sandwich. So as I look at sympathetic, our goal is to increase the ability for us to survive. How do we do that? Well, we have physical sections within the body, and that's occurring at the spinal cord from our thoracic 1 down to lumbar 2. So we're referring to that I have neurons, and we call these preganglionic neurons because they're going to go to a ganglia. What is a ganglia? We said a ganglia is a collection of cell bodies. So what we see with this system is I have a preganglionic fiber match up and touch and connect with a ganglion, and then continue on with a postganglionic fiber and then go to its target. Whereas when we look at somatic nervous system, and our somatic is what I can control, there's a direct one-line connection of one neuron to connect to those muscles to make them work. Nervous system, when we talk about sympathetic is controlled by two, except for one exception for the adrenal gland. So when we look at this, we're describing in the spinal cord that there are physical sections from T1 to L2 that I have this ganglionic neuron. So I have a preganglionic neuron that'll come off the spinal cord. I have three general directions in which they're going to go through the body. The first is sympathetic chain ganglia. So I have a chain on either side of my spinal cord called a chain. It's a chain of ganglia. Sympathetic chain ganglia is also called the paravertebral ganglia. Then I have collateral chain ganglia. There's no pairs of them, but I have three sets, and that's called the celiac. It's called the superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric ganglia. So I have these ganglia, and then I have a straight shot that's going to the suprarenal gland or the adrenal gland, but in the middle called the suprarenal medulla or the adrenal medulla. So these are my three general targets in which we're going to flow. How do we get there? With a preganglionic neuron. So this fiber is going to go from the spinal cord to the sympathetic chain ganglion. The sympathetic chain ganglion targeting, just look at everywhere in the body except abdominal pelvic. The celiac, the superior mesenteric, and the inferior mesenteric ganglion are the collateral chain that's going to go to the abdominal pelvic. So when I look at sympathetic chain ganglion, it's this chain on the other side of the vertebral column that goes all the way down to my coccygeal section. It's just the fibers come out of the spinal cord to L2. So I still have a cervical region of this, a thoracic, a lumbar, a sacral, and a coccygeal region for these ganglia. So the ganglia go all the way down to the coccyx bone. But the actual nerve fibers are only coming down T1 to L2. They'll just run through those chain. And their goal is to target basically everything in the body except abdominal pelvic, because abdominal pelvic is part of that process to relax some of these organs. Versus when we look at thoracic cavity, head, body wall, and limbs, our goal is to speed up a lot of structures. But I think about the things like my heart rate, my breathing rate. As I sweat, I'm increasing these glands. Everything to start to get ready to fight off the grizzly bear. And then my third is an adrenal gland, but it's just the actual straight shot of one preganglionic. So there's just one neuron that's going straight to the adrenal gland at the medulla, which is the middle region of the adrenal gland. Its target is the bloodstream. And how is it doing that? It's releasing adrenaline. So I have norepinephrine and epinephrine are the primary hormones, but it's going by way of the blood. So there is no like true direct target. It's wherever the cells will receive them throughout the whole body. So what we're trying to describe here is how does the sympathetic nervous system work? It's fight or flight. When you have to fight off the grizzly bear, how are we communicating to body to make that work so you can survive in that moment? I have a preganglionic neuron that comes off the spinal cord. Where does that occur? From T1 to L2, thoracic 1 to L2, lumbar 2, where the spinal cord sits. There's going to be a preganglionic neuron that comes off of that. It'll connect with two different types of ganglia.
Sympathetic chain ganglion.
To target everything in the body except for abdominal pelvic. Those are handled by collateral chain ganglion. I have a post that goes after those ganglion to hit those targets. Preganglion fiber, ganglion, postganglionic fiber, that hits my target, say my heart. Versus when I go straight to the adrenal gland, it's just one neuron that goes all the way to the adrenal medulla to release the hormones into the bloodstream to target everywhere that the blood will take it. Again, releasing adrenaline in the form of norepinephrine, epinephrine to target the whole body. This is the whole target system of how do we make that response work during fight or flight to fight off that grizzly bear. This is sympathetic nervous system.